Hey guys, this is Miss Arlequin, and in this lesson video, we're going to be reviewing some of the things we did in class today, which was using our planning charts to plan and organize our end of the unit essay. All right, so just to make sure that we're all on the same page and to clarify, we know that for this end of the unit task, we're doing a compare and contrast essay. There are two things that our comparison and contrast has to be focused on. One is the writer's perspectives, specifically how they feel about democracy and what life is like in a democratic society. And then the second part is the strategies or the techniques that they use. So how are they using, for example, dialogue to reveal that perspective? Or how are they using a metaphor to convey their perspective? So your comparison and your contrast can either be comparing and contrasting their perspectives, or you can compare and contrast the strategies they use. For example, if you choose two authors who have the same perspective and there's nothing to contrast, then your contrast should be in the strategies. There should be some similar strategies that they use, but then also some different strategies. All right, so in today's thinking generator, we talked about some of the overall purposes that each of the poets and the playwright used to develop their texts. So we matched up examining an individual's duties in a democracy to Reginald Rose. And then we talked about how critiquing the flaws of a democracy really matched Sarah Holbrook very well. And that discussing the challenges some Americans face really matches Langston Hughes. Now, we also talked about how there is some overlap, how critiquing the flaws of a democracy could also be applied to 12 Angry Men. But these are the three strongest matches. Now, on your planning chart, what you're going to do is you're going to start off with that author's purpose. So I showed you in my model planning chart, using Langston Hughes' poem Democracy, how I highlighted or circled that purpose that best matches him, that he's discussing the challenges. And then I came up with my own perspective about how he doesn't want to wait until tomorrow. He wants equality now because African Americans are starving from inequality. And how I then matched it up to that metaphor, text evidence about tomorrow's bread. If I'm going to do that for 12 Angry Men, I'm going to once again take the best author's purpose that matches him, examine the responsibility of a jury, and then I'm going to match it up with the perspective. Now, there can be multiple perspectives that apply to each text. It's up to you to choose the one that you want to explore in your essay. So in 12 Angry Men, which of these best match what Reginald Rose is trying to do? Is it that one person can make a difference? Well, yeah, we can definitely see that with the 8th juror. Democracy is flawed and often exhausting. I mean, I don't think there's anything about it being exhausting, but that some people are unwilling or unable to make a change. You can definitely see that in 12 Angry Men. The government is wasteful and unfair. No, that's Sarah Holbrook. Democracy is essential, but the U.S. has not achieved it. I don't really see that in 12 Angry Men. But we can say that in 12 Angry Men, we also see that when one person tries to make a change, others are quick to dissuade them. All the people who fight against 8th juror really show this perspective. And also that citizens often don't take their responsibilities seriously in a democracy. We can definitely see that in 12 Angry Men. And then you've got here the other, where you could come up with your own. I think in 12 Angry Men, we also see people making really quick judgments of other people. So sometimes in a democracy, people can sometimes make quick judgments of others. All right. Now, do I have to write about all of these perspectives? No, of course not. Again, you only need to choose one perspective to write about at a time. So I could do one perspective and then the evidence and technique that shows it. And then if I did want to do a second perspective from that text, that would be the next body paragraph, where I would say that the author also is trying to show this, and then I would have evidence that matches that perspective. So if I'm going to do more than one perspective, it's got to be separated into different body paragraphs. But let's just focus again on one perspective at a time. So which one are you going to choose? Again, choose the one that you feel most strongly about, that you feel like would be the easiest to prove. How about citizens often don't take their responsibilities seriously in a democracy? That can definitely be proven with lots of evidence. And so that brings us to the text evidence part of the chart. Where in the play do I see people not taking their responsibilities seriously? Well, if I go into 12 Angry Men, I'm obviously going to focus on the seventh juror. The seventh juror is the main one in the excerpt who we see who is not really caring about jury duty. He just wants to go to his baseball game. So I can start to see that right from the beginning. He says, this better be fast. I got tickets to a ball game. We got this new kid pitching. He's a bull, this kid. So what technique are we looking at here? We are looking at dramatic structure, specifically dialogue. Through the dialogue of the seventh juror, Reginald Rose is revealing that people don't always take their duties seriously. Okay, now, it's always better if you can have multiple pieces of evidence to reveal whatever claim you're trying to make. In this case, you're trying to prove that Reginald Rose is using dialogue to reveal a perspective. You've got one piece of dialogue. Let's find a second one. Where else do we see people not taking their responsibilities seriously? All right, so if I keep scanning, okay, I can see here where they actually take their preliminary vote. We've got stage directions. Now, it's not dialogue, which I was originally looking for, but if you look at your planning chart, we're really focusing on dramatic structure, and dramatic structure is a combination of dialogue and stage directions. So I can actually approach it from that lens. I'm not going to identify the specific dialogue. I'm going to say that the author uses dramatic structure. My first example will be how he uses dialogue, and then my second example will be how he uses stage directions. Specifically here, we see that all of the jury is rushing to vote guilty because they just want to get out of there. They're not even taking any time to talk about the case, which shows that they're not taking it seriously. All right, so I've got on my planning chart, I've got my purpose circled, I've got my perspective circled. I'm going to put my technique as dramatic structure. I'm going to put text evidence 1 and text evidence 2. So the dialogue is going to go here and the stage directions are going to go here. And then I'm just going to, on the bottom of that first page, I am going to do my explanation. How does the dialogue and the stage direction that I chose show that perspective? Once I'm done with that first technique, I'm going to move on to the next part of my planning chart. It's still going to be for 12 Angry Men, and I'm going to find a new technique and new pieces of evidence to analyze. So when you come to class tomorrow, you want to make sure that you have 2 techniques per author.